Hey guys, Sicx from Sicx.co.uk, and today I'll be doing a review, and I put out a voting poll for which pack people would most likely like me to review. And some people might think that because this video is unfortunately a little late, if I was a better liar I'd say it's because I wanted to drum up anticipation and excitement. The truth is I've just been really overworked and not really been able to put anything out. But hopefully today, this video and a few others that have come out before this should probably make up for it. So enjoy. Okay, now those for you who don't really know, Anne Stokes is an artist and she produces various pieces of art involving fairies, monsters, dragons, werewolves, unicorns. Now, you can see these prints on pillowcases, t-shirts, they even do statues. So some of these, if you're not familiar with her artwork, you've probably seen them around. Now, one of the reasons I wanted to do this video is because as much as I love this artwork, I would not recommend these cards for beginners. And we shall show you why. So here we have the box. Now, it's a general standard size, kind of. I've got relatively large hands, so that's kind of more of a standard size. So you're not going to get anything too big or too small by comparison. Now, first glance, you've got a really cool dragon on the front, really nice looking angel on the back, and some really nice design on the side. Onto there as well. So we'll open it up. We've got the instructions. And so we'll start, as always, by going through the majors. As soon as I can get to them. So with the majors. Now this is the strongest part of the deck. So you do have your standard majors. So as I've said, you might recognise some of these already. Now, one thing I always find with these, because these aren't specific, these aren't designs specific for tarot. These are designs that have been added these pictures have been given the name rather than designed for them. So, for example, you've got the Hierophant as a woman, and previously you've got. So you've got like dragons as the lovers, but then you've got the chariot just as a dragon. So compared to the standard, that's a bit strange, considering there's no real context to it. So you've got justice, which kind of works but doesn't quite. Right, I'll try and get the camera angle better. The hermit, just a standard dragon again. The Wheel of Fortune, some woman in a mirror. In strength, that works in context. Right, this is one of the ones that really bug me. It's a really nice looking card. I've always been a fan of the concept of Medusa, but Medusa as the Hanged Man doesn't make sense in context. There's no real comparison. You can't really say, oh, it's self-sacrifice, or it's looking at things at a different perspective. I mean, you could probably make a connection saying that you can't look at things in a certain way, otherwise, turn to stone or something like that. But that's a bit of a stretch. You have to really think. Death card, fine. It's a cool picture, but it's kind of a bit on the nose, really. Temperance as a mermaid. If you don't know the Temperance card, then that's a bit of a weird thing. The Devil, just a gargoyle, fine, that kind of works in context. Right, then you've got the Tower, and I would say that's a kind of okay, I guess, but it doesn't quite work. Then you've kind of got, this is where it feels a bit lazy to me. You've got the Star, the Moon, and the Sun. It works, but it doesn't feel that it feels like, oh, here's a name, which one do we have that fits it the best, rather than, hey, let's make some tarot cards, which a lot of decks do. And then we've got Judgment, which looks more, doesn't look any more like Justice, really. It's just a woman with a sword. She's not even nearly an angel, really. More of a butterfly woman. Then you've got the World, kind of. I guess it kind of looks like it, but that's one of the things that bug me about this. It's unless you know the cards, this isn't a good way to start. Now we get on to what I consider the weakest point of this deck, is the minors. So we'll start with the swords. That's a cross, okay, fine, that's a nice. And then this is where decks like this fall apart for me. Then you've got the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, unfortunately, all of the minors do that, and that is something that always aggravates me, because the majors are great artwork, but it feels like they're just kind of cheaping out, really. I mean, I can understand that they don't want to necessarily have to construct an entire 78 cards for this, but I always get disappointed when I see that, because I'm like, it's more for people who like the artwork than actually want to read with tarot. These are more of a novelty deck rather than a functional deck. I mean, unless you are, which is why I say these aren't for beginners. Now, these don't really work for me. There are people who study it and have been doing it for a hell of a lot longer than me who can read this, and if they can, amazing. But when I buy a deck of really nice artwork, I always hope and want it to be throughout. I mean, this looks nice, but then it just continues through the deck. This card looks no nicer than the previous, except there's one less feather. And that stuff always bugs me. But now we're going to go on to the court cards. So you've got, so this one goes by the Knave. So you've got the Knave of Swords. Looks nice. So the swords are angels, as you can see here. That's the Knight of Swords, the Queen, and the King. Now some of the court cards, these do work as court cards. I won't deny it. These work really well as court cards. And then we go to the next one. So we've got the Ace of Wands. So the wands are dragons, as you can see by the ace. But once again, you've got your 2, your 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Once again, so I once used these to read at a friend's wedding, and once again, it looks nice but very difficult to read if you're a method reader. If you're good with your numbers, then good. It's good to be good with numbers. Hold on, that doesn't say 10. That's out of order. Never mind. But you get the general gist. So then you've got the Knave of Wands. So, I mean, because as the wands are the element of fire, that kind of makes sense. Same with the angels, because the angels are an element, the swords are an element of air, so it makes sense to have them as angels. So then you've got the Knight of Wands, which does look really cool. The Queen of Wands, which kind of works for me, I think. As I said, I don't really have an issue with the court cards, it's the rest. And then the King of Wands, which is probably I'd consider that more to be more the King of Swords than Wands. No, that's just me. Right, so then we go to the Cups. So these ones are vampires. So you've got your nice chalice there with 2 bats, then 3 bats, etc., etc. So as I said, if you are able to read these style of cards, then make them fantastic. If you like the artwork, that's also cool. But I'd never really consider these. As I said, I wouldn't really read with these. I'll keep them, but I just don't really like reading with that style of cards. So you've got the Knave again. Nothing really. That doesn't really strike me as a Knave. That does strike me more as the Knight. But there you go. And you've got the Knight. See, the Knight that's how I'd consider more the knave rather than the knight. So I'd actually, if that was me, I would have had them around the other way. So I'd have this one to be the knave and that one to be the knight. But that's just me. And you've got the queen, who doesn't feel like the classic Queen of Cups. She doesn't feel like someone you can go up to and talk to about your feelings and they'll make you feel better. It feels like this is someone who, she has more of a quality of the Queen of Swords rather than the Queen of Cups. And as I said, that's my issue. They just kind of pick they just pick a picture and then say, okay, this will be this one, rather than them being designed to be that. Then you've got the King of Cups. And once again, he makes me think more of the King of Swords. Because he doesn't look like he's an emotional, doesn't look like he's an emotional sort of person. He feels to me someone who's very deep, probably writes the best poetry, but he doesn't feel like he's a man of emotion. He does feel like he's a man of clinical precision. So we move on to the Pentacles, which are element of earth. So these ones are skulls and reapers. So you can imagine, once again, you've got a spread, and then you see these just kind of laid out in front of you, and you differentiate between these two. Here's your current situation. It's just looking at the image is a lot harder if it's just this as an image, and then trying to once again discern that from that. It does, if you're more about numerology and if you're good with numbers and really good with like your psychicness, then these cards would be fine. But these are a great tool for someone who's not as well versed in them. I know I'm basically repeating myself, but there's not a lot I can say when all the cards pretty much look the same. So then you've got your knave. Now that looks more like a knave. That one, that does look more like a knave. Then you've got your knight. I mean, he looks alright, but as I said, that's a great t-shirt, that's a great poster, but I wouldn't necessarily look at that and see the Knight of Pentacles. He doesn't look like a man who looks over a field and tends to stuff. And then you've got the Queen of Knights, and she... Queen of Knights? The Queen of Pentacles. And once again, it doesn't feel like... She doesn't have any of that feeling to me. It's just some woman with the Reaper. It's a cool, once again, it's a cool picture, but I don't really, I mean, as I said, all this is personal, but it doesn't feel like a Queen of Pentacles. And he doesn't look like a King of Pentacles either. He doesn't look knowledgeable in wealth. He doesn't look like he knows how to, he doesn't look like a businessman, essentially. You could say he's the Reaper, so therefore he's constantly working, but he doesn't look like he's a man of wisdom. He doesn't look like he's a man you can go to and talk to about anything. That's my problem with that. But we'll kind of move on to tell about my top 5. So now here's my top 5. Now the thing to remember is it's not necessarily the cards that I think are very accurate, it's just these look the nicest, these are the nicest looking. So my top 5 are the High Priestess. I mean, just look at it. As I've said throughout, as I've been saying through the video, it's not because it's still really nice artwork, and I think this really kind of shows off the colour and depth to some of it. It does have like a feeling of the High Priestess with being with the water, and also there's a skull at the bottom in there as well. So it's kind of reaching the unseen and the unknown. But I wouldn't necessarily look at that and think High Priestess. I might, at most, I'd probably say maybe the Empress. At most, let's get back to focus. But yeah, so it is a very odd one, that. Now I know I ragged on this one earlier, but it's still a really cool picture. It is the Hanged Man. I don't see why this is the Hanged Man really, but as I said before, I just love. I do just love the Medusa, the Gorgon look. It does look really cool. And let's be fair, snakes are cool, but as I said before, it's just I just can't see how this card is the Hanged Man. I can't see it. I've got the book, but if I'm just, as what I tend to do with cards, I just tend to buy them, look through them and kind of see what I get, and it just doesn't fit. She doesn't feel like the Hanged Man, basically. So the next one we've got is the Death card. I mean, you can't really go wrong with, when it comes to interpretation, you can't go wrong with the Death card, just because it's the Grim Reaper. I mean, that does look cool. And I do wonder how long it takes her to actually paint these. Or use the computer, I don't know how she actually does this. But as I said, you can see this sort of artwork all over the place. But as I said, that's kind of obviously a Death card. Now the next one kind of surprised me, because I'm trying to keep these in order, is the Ace, I've dropped it, it's the Ace of Swords. Just because it looks quite nice and peaceful. I don't even need to do a scan, it's just there. But yeah, it just looks nice and peaceful. I mean, she's obviously in distress, but it feels that it still feels like it's a pretty card. It's a very nice looking card. But yeah. Oh, let me show you the back. Hang on, go back to focus. Yeah, but the last one is the King of Pentacles. Once again, the Grim Reaper looks cool. I don't see it accurately depicting the King of Pentacles, but it still does look cool, as I've already shown you. But they're like my top 5. Now, I also need to show you the back of how that looks. So you can see if they're upside down, if you ever do inverted readings. I'm not a fan of them myself, I try not to bother with them. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the Anne Stokes cards. Not great, but that's the whole point. That's my thoughts. Now, obviously, the final bit with these, as I said, once again, if you're a collector, they're good. If you just love the artwork, they're good. If you want a really cool pack of tarot to really get into some readings, I probably say wait a while. Wait until you're a bit more understanding with them. These are not for beginners. Not with images like that, unfortunately. These are not for beginners. I mean, I've been doing this for a few years now, and they even bug me. So I'll end with just a quick thing of how they are as a card, because it's quite thick stock. As you can hear there, it's very flexible. Well, of course it's flexible, but it's not too much resistance. And shuffling is very nice and smooth. Nice smooth shuffling. And of course, it spreads really smoothly, nice and evenly. So you can just have a nice pick of random cards. And it works out. So for that, it works quite well. Because sometimes, as I've said before in other videos, sometimes they can just be so chunky that you can't really manage with them. But these are quite nice and smooth, which once again I say is a shame, because I just won't be able to read with them. They're just not the style I like to read with. But that's my overall thoughts. So as I said, don't forget, let me know what you think. Leave a comment below and let me know what you think. So that's my review on the Anne Stokes Tarot. Now once again, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below. If there is any other cards you would like me to give a look at, please let me know. Always try and give stuff like that a go. And as I said, once again, I'm really sorry for this coming out so late. I've just had a lot of stuff going on at the moment. So I hope you like this video. Like, share, subscribe. Don't forget to check out me on Twitter @Sicx Tarot. You can also check out my more well-used one, which is just @Sicx. And now if you just excuse me, I've got a holiday to get ready for. Have a good one.